Hey, happy days. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, also known as Pajama Grandma. Let's talk about the expression straight from the horse's mouth. Now, this is a relatively new idiom or new expression. It's just been around since about the 1920s, and it came from the practice of people not truthfully representing the age of a horse. Literally, this came from the horse's mouth. If you want to know how old a horse is, if you know anything about horses, you can look at a horse and you can't really judge its age on the outside. But if you open its mouth, look right inside its mouth, you can examine its teeth. And its teeth will always tell you how old the horse is. Teeth in a horse, of course, wear down as and become different looking as they've chewed and chewed and chewed over the years. So as you examine a horse's teeth, you can tell how old that horse is. So the expression became popular, and it means to consider the source. Go directly to the source of information and facts. Don't just take things on face value. Nowadays, there's so much information available on the internet, on the news media, from different people, talking around the water fountain. We can get information from all different places and all different sources. It's kind of like the old telephone game when we were kids. The message that our teacher would start at the beginning of the room and the message that came out at the end of the room, even if it was only 5 or 10 kids that were doing the experiment, was totally distorted and totally different than the message that was originally produced. So we have to remember that, number one, every time a story is told from one person to the next, it gets distorted and changed. And not even intentionally, because we all hear things differently, we all see things differently, and our perspective of what happens and what we heard is different than what was conveyed by the person that originally was the source of that information. And a lot of times it's totally innocent and it isn't on purpose. But what we have to do and have to remember in our businesses and in our life, if we're depending on that information, if we're making decisions based on that information, we need to know that it's the best information possible. Now, we don't get all anal and go perfectionist, but we do have to consider the source. Consider the source of the information. Consider where you're getting the information and what the motive is behind the creator of that information. What is the motive? What is the purpose of that information being created and presented in the way it's presented to us? Think of the nightly news or the morning news or the daily news or the afternoon news. Think of CNN. What is their motivation in terms of the way they present the stories to us? Everybody's got a motivation. Everybody's got a reason that they tell a story in a certain way. A lot of times it's to evoke emotion in us. It's to get us upset either in a positive or negative way, and to get us riled up and worked up, to get us to think of things from their perspective, their point of view. It's actually a lot of propaganda and influence, not necessarily in a positive way, but not necessarily in a negative way either. It can go either way depending on the source. So that's why we say, and I say, always consider the source. Always go back to the source of the information. If a new law or new regulation, if you hear about it through the grapevine or through your city council, is coming down the pipe, are you going to just start fretting about it, worrying about it, and panicking about it if it's something that you view as negative? Or are you going to go to the city council and ask them, is this something that's being considered? And then if it is, wait and see when it gets passed or not, or see if you can influence and impact that decision, that whatever the thing is. I'm speaking in vague terms because it could be almost anything. All of our businesses are different. But I've had things like that happen where rules and regulations were rumored to be coming down the pipe, but then when you investigated and asked the sources, the people that would be in the know, they're like, yeah, that was brought up at one meeting, but it got voted down. Nobody's interested in it at all. So instead of worrying about it and thinking you're going to have to jump through hoops to make things happen in your business, you find out that it's just a non-issue. And I always like knowing that things are non-issues and that I don't need to, think of them as obstacles or create more obstacles for myself when I'm building my business. So consider the source and go to the source. Don't take things at face value and get all upset or overreact and make decisions and choices based on things that may or may not happen. I love the political environments that happen, and people go crazy thinking that if one politician or another politician wins, it's going to negatively impact their business. And the truth is, if you really dig down deep and you look at your business, chances are it doesn't matter who is in power with respect to politics. It's not going to have any impact on your business whatsoever. But we get all worked up and we think that things are going to happen and things are going to change. And overall, in my 40 plus years of businesses and running businesses, it hasn't really mattered at the level of my businesses what goes on politically. It's more, actually, it's always been more at the micro level, at the direct municipality level, that has had an impact or made it necessary to do changes or things. Oh, kicked my camera in my business. So, especially where things are emotionally charged, always remember to dig back, look for the real source of the information, and make sure that you're making decisions based on the facts, not on just things that are destined to trigger your emotions. That's it. Go out and make it an amazing day. If I can help you in any way, shape, or form, hit me up in the comments below. If you have an example of where you've gotten carried away and not gone to the source of information, share it in the comments below so that we can all learn from it. I know I've been guilty of that. I've done that. I've been guilty in the past in corporate America of sitting around the break room talking to people, hearing something, and then getting all upset and worried about it, only to find out it was absolute nonsense. By the time I went and asked my boss, he's like, yeah, no, we thought about doing a what if about that, but we're not even going to do it because we know the probability of it happening is so slim that it's not even an issue. So, instead of letting the world around you slap you around with emotionally charged ideas and thoughts, go to the source and find out what's really going on before you decide if you're going to be upset about something or not. And again, upset or excited about something, because they both feel the same. One's just positive, one's negative. I'll be with you tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Bye. Go straight to the horse's mouth.